Trump is continuing his crusade against comedy, and I have a feeling he's not going to be happy about a story that just surfaced when it comes to his previous dabbling in TV comedy. So we know that he hosted SNL back in 2015, and if you haven't watched the episode, you shouldn't, because I have, and it's terrible. He's just one of the worst guest hosts that they've ever had, and that's what actually made it onto the show. There were other sketches that didn't. And we're now finding out one in particular that he didn't want to do, and it's not for the reason you might think when you first hear about it. So he was to play a tree standing next to the giving tree. That's that classic Shel Silverstein character who gives and gives of herself until she's reduced to a stump. So it was gonna end with the Trump team, or Trump tree, he's in a tree costume, calling the giving tree a sucker. Now he refused to do that, not because it portrayed him as heartless, but because he was worried that the tree costume would make him look fat. That is amazing. If that was true of me and that story came out and all that was true, you would never see me in public again, because he is as wrong as you can be on both of those things. The fact that it makes sense to pitch a sketch where he would call the giving tree a sucker is totally true. That doesn't bother him. The selfishness, the cruelty, the callousness, he has no problem with that. He was worried that he would look fat. That's such a strange thing. And look, I understand it. I understand. There's a lot of casual mockery of Donald Trump for his weight or whatever. I understand people struggle with their weight. It does seem a little bit odd that a guy with all the resources that he had has always been so sensitive about his appearance, but also doesn't want to do any exercise, whatever. That seems a little bit weird, but whatever. But like the fact that it's the tree costume that did it, I don't understand it. So anyway, Seth Meyers, who's gonna provide a link to the second part of the story, said it was fascinating to be around him. He was a writer, of course, at that point. He did Weekend Update. He said he was everything you would think. He didn't have any sense of humor, but if things worked, he liked them. Unfortunately, again, I watched the episode and literally nothing worked on there. But anyway, Seth Meyers no longer is at SNL. He's now got his own show, and I don't often watch it. It's late night. I'm not usually watching TV at that point, but I do know one person who watches it, and that's Donald Trump. Because Donald Trump at 1:24 a.m. last night posted this: "How bad is Seth Meyers on NBC, a network run by a truly bad group of people? Remember, they also run MSDNC." Oh, that's very clever, because he means MSNBC. But you get it, he said DNC because they're Democrats. "I got stuck watching Marble Mouth Meyers the other night, the first time in months. And every time I watch this moron, I feel an obligation to say how dumb and untalented he is, merely a slot filler for the scum that runs Comcast." We'll get later to the important part in this, but I love that. So think about what happened. Oh my God, I have this thing where I'm cursed, where I often feel like I can read from the things people say too much into the psychology of why they said it. But with Donald Trump, literally everyone has that ability. So he wants to go on a rant about Seth Meyers, despite the fact that in literally 6 days, he's going to be president of the United States. And in the middle of the night, he's posting on Truth Social about Seth Meyers. That is deeply, deeply sad. Dude, literally, go spend time with your wife. It's 1:24. There are more fun and better things you could be doing with your time. But he's gonna do it. But he also knows that that's pathetic. And so he has to conjure up the idea that I got stuck watching Marble Mouth Meyers. It's late night TV. It's literally impossible to be stuck watching it. You could just go to bed. You could read a book. You could put on some other show. Netflix has, you can watch Raw on Netflix. He's not stuck. He's choosing to do it. But he also knows that that's pathetic, and so he has to provide the caveat. But anyway, so he's attacking Seth Meyers, whatever. He also doesn't seem to understand that that's only gonna inspire Seth Meyers to do far more mockery in the days to come. That's how it worked with me and Marjorie Greene. But the reason I think this is important is he ends his message with, "Comcast should pay a big price for this." Now that is the sort of bluster that he's always done. It's the sort of wildly anti-free speech position he has that makes a mockery of their supposed commitment to free speech. Yeah, any media that looks into him, any comedians that mock him, he instantly starts threatening them. The reason I bring it up now is, in the past, it was easy to just write all that stuff off. But we've already seen newspapers and TV networks needlessly, preemptively capitulate to Donald Trump. Now, I assume that NBC and Seth Meyers and his show will stand up to him, But I also no longer know for sure. It is possible that Seth Meyers is getting a talking to right now because Donald Trump is vindictive enough to potentially go after Comcast because a comic made fun of him. That is the wild time that we're entering into. And so in the same way that we're not gonna get as many official investigations of Trump and the newspapers aren't gonna be looking into him as much because they're worried about being destroyed by this fascist, it's also possible that even the comedy will fall away with the wild threats that he's making against these networks that he might well make good on. Thanks for watching our video. Did you know that you can support our show by becoming a subscriber? Just click the subscribe button and also ring the bell so that you get notifications when we're live or when we post new content.